There are many who can't do small or big projects with the same dedication and commitment as we do. With a reputation as the leading printing company in the country, when it comes to major projects and innovative solutions, we always deliver in high quality, thus receiving the trust and confidence of our clients. From the moment your order is placed to when it is delivered, we believe in exceeding expectations from the sales manager to the production team, the account manager, and the person delivering your material. We have state-of-the-art equipment and a highly experienced and competent workforce that enables us to deliver top-quality work on time. At reasonable prices, we provide our clients with multiple solutions right from conceptualizing, designing, printing, binding, publishing, and distribution. For all your printing requirements, we are strategically located at the Sankumsila Highway, the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation. We print what you desire.
Gamcell is here again with another super saving data bundles. Oh yes! 1000 megabyte is now just $250 and 1500 megabytes is as little as $300. Means you can save more whenever you buy Gamcell 1000 megabyte or 1500 megabyte mobile data. Isn't that cheap? So come on guys, buy Gamcell mobile data now to save more and enjoy fast and longer browsing time on Gambia's fastest mobile internet. Gamcell, yai borom.
STUART & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm in London that can help you with all aspects of your legal work. If you are looking at immigrating to the United Kingdom, STUART & Co. can help you to set up business, buy houses in the UK, and will deal with all your legal works from start to finish.
For all your general immigration work, we can help you with that as well. If you apply for any form of visa, whether student visas, settlement visas, marriage visas, or a child wanting to come to the United Kingdom to settle with the family, we can help you to achieve your goals.
STUART & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm specializing in conveyancing, immigration, litigation, family law, personal injury, licensing, no win, no fee. Contact us today at www.sk-solicitors.com.
In today's world, everything imaginable is on the internet, which is amazing. And to find anything, it is easy. But that's not the case for Lamin. His standard internet connection is frustratingly slow, unable to focus on important things in life. He can't stream a video or search anything. He is fed up with messages like address is not found, timeout connection, and Internet Explorer cannot find web page. That's when his friend Fatima introduces him to Gamtel. At Gamtel, we provide viable, cost-effective, and sustainable internet solutions to businesses and homes. With our nationwide fiber broadband connectivity through EcoOne Gambia project, you can now say goodbye to slow internet. We provide quality services, blazing speed, and amazing customer services. All these at affordable price. Be like Lamin and start using Gamtel broadband internet today. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
Sophie, meew la bu sell te neex, baax na ci halal ak mag yépp. Am na calcium, iron, protein ak vitamine yu bari. Sophie full cream powder milk la. Am na 20 gram, 200 gram ak 400 gram. Koko ñam dootu ko bàyyi. Sophie, proudly Gambian.
Universal Properties, the dynamic and most trusted agency in real estate and property management.
We are here to make housing affordable, accessible for every Gambian, despite their financial status.
What makes Universal outstanding in the market is our flexible payment plans.
We set standards in sales and letting of quality properties, mortgage, leasing, rentals, property valuation, construction, and many more.
All our sites are fitted with social amenities such as schools, water, electricity, praying ground, and a good road network. In Sukuta Phase 1 and 2, Jambanjeli, Sanyang, Brikama, Lamin Daranka, and Gunjur coming up soon.
Doing business with Universal Properties, it's a very wonderful experience.
Universal Properties, FIB House, Caraba Avenue.
Tanal man number yung may tanal mabapi. Kani oli mala jox ci xibaar yeb doy la. Jaral man number rek gowma la.
Sëñ bi na nga def. Kii de dama ko jox xibaar gi ma dégg ci yéen.
Waaw la toggee.
Wax naa ko ne alxames bu nekk ak dimanche bu nekk dañ tànn juróomi nomba ci jackpot bi ko gagné juróomi nomba tegal nañ la $100,000 maanaam téeméeri junne ak lu teg. Waaw. Waaye juróomi nomba yi dafa war a méngoo. Su fekkee ne amoo juróomi nomba yu méngoo am nga ñeenti nomba yu méngoo yow dinañ la jox bonus foo du noonu la.
Bonus foo.
Waaw des na de. Altine bu jot talaata àllarba ak àjjuma. ñu génne waat beneen jackpot ne ku gi am ñeenti nomba yu lëkkaloo. ñu tegal la $50,000 maanaam juróom fukki junni. Waaw waaye nag gis nga boo amee ñetta yu méngoo. ñu jox la tam bonus 3. waaye nag xàmmee ko gis nga Gambia. géem yi bari nañ de. waaye gis nga bii green la. xàmmee ko waaw xàmmee ko bu baax a baax feneen foo taxaw bu fii di nga perte.
lu ma la wax yëpp dëgg la. waaye xam nga lu ma lay xamal ma wax nga naan waaw dëgg la kay yow mi sa kanam guddi gi xam nga ne góoma la. da ngeen may kompaloo man ngeen di kompaloo nañ dem ca office.
xanaa nërmelu nga.
ma ne nee naa nga lañ laa wax.
nee naa la ku ko mën la ku koy jéem duñu benn. ak loto game. ak ay bonus sama xéwalam yu bari. fii rek la du feneen.
Good evening and welcome to yet another edition of Kerr Fatou. Tonight I have the pleasure of having my co-host and of course a distinguished gentleman, a Gambian based in the United States, Mr. Sajor Barrow, who will be talking to us about the recent changes in the immigration system in America. Of course, how Gambians are affected. As you all know, we have so many Gambians in the US. Most of them are affected by the changes since the Trump administration, Daddy. And only as you know, we have also seen a lot of Gambians being returned back home. And the government has a part to play in that. Also, the way these Gambians are received when they come back home, these are things that we need to talk about. We need to educate Gambians and those in the United States. What should they do and what do they have to look out for so that they don't get in trouble with the law? And what are some of the things that are affecting their status in the U.S.? And of course, before we start the discussion, we want to have Sarjo introduce himself. Mr. Barrow, welcome to Kerr Fatou. It's a pleasure having you on tonight. Can you please tell us, who is Sarjo Barrow?
Thank you, Father, for having me, and thank you, everyone. Sarjo, I'm a Gambian, born and raised from Nyamena Dankanku, but I spent most of my time in Jara. That's where I went to school. I left the Gambia for US somewhere 2002, 2003, if I'm not mistaken. And then since then, I have been resident over there. And then currently, I practice. I'm a licensed attorney in the state of Wisconsin, and then I work with Lawton and Cates. It's a major firm over there. And then 70% of my practice involve immigration and nationality law, but mostly removal defense.
Nyangjai, recently, since the change of administration in the U.S., there have been a lot of issues surrounding Gambians and non-Gambians, of course. We have seen the travel ban, we have seen the DACA, and all other immigration issues that Gambians and non-Gambians are facing in the U.S.
Thank you so much, Barrister Barrow. It's a pleasure having you on Kerr Fatou. As you're aware, Gambia is a country filled with migrants, Gambian expatriates all over the world. But in the recent past, North America, and America to be precise, has become home to many Gambians, both in the northeast and in the southeast of the U.S., North Carolina, Georgia, Washington, D.C., and all the way up north to New York. And America has been very favorable in terms of Gambians because Gambians are not too crime prone in terms of their numbers. So we were not on the radar, or we were not visible. And fast forward to George Bush era. The economy started changing, and hostilities towards immigrants started changing, and Gambians were not immune. And things got worse during Donald Trump's time. So I think Gambians, like the Latins will say, caveat emptor, buyer beware. They have to be aware of their rights, they have to be aware of their status, and they have to be aware of the country they're living in so that they won't be breaking laws. Just because you're not committing criminal offenses don't mean you're not breaking the law. So Gambians should talk to attorneys, especially people with immigration specialty, to know what their status is or are in the US, because you don't want to live somewhere and unbeknown to you, you're breaking or violating rules and laws. So it's good that we have government attorneys there trying to help the diasporan community living there to make sure that they're in line and in conformity with federal statutes.
Daddy, Oli, you and I have been immigrants before, and we've also gone through stuff like this. But things are changing, and so many laws are coming into place, and Gambians are really finding it difficult to live abroad now. What do you think Gambians should expect, and what should Gambians do trying to know what their status are and how to regularize their status?
Okay, thank you very much, Fatou, and welcome, Mr. Barrow. The topic we are talking about today is very important, and as Nyang has said, we need to know what our status are. As you said, me living abroad before, I lived there legally because I was a student. But what I'm urging other Gambians is, if you know what your status are, try to speak to an attorney. Try to speak to somebody to understand if you're violating a law or not. But then there's something I would really want to talk about, especially child immigrants, because that is something that, for me, I'm talking from the perspective of the young people. If you're a child immigrant, like let's say, and we know that happens in Gambia, where we take our sisters or our brothers to America or to another part of the world to live there, and then they go on a holiday visa, and most of the time we say, just buy coffee, right? So that buy coffee, you then get into the system, you start going to school, and then you get to this point where you can't go to college. And then that child feels that, actually, I am American, because they were there from year one. You get to college, you're not American, you're illegal. So in a situation like that, what should the child do, or the parents of that child?
I think that is very important. We will get to that. But first and foremost, I think where I want us to start is what Gambians should know. What should they do?
Immigration, in as much as in terms of substantive law, hasn't changed more. And then it's just the procedure. And then most of the laws are pretty much in the book. It depends on how you enforce it. In the prior administration, Obama administration, they have what they call enforcement priorities. Priority 1, 2, and 3. And then they're actually in a form of hierarchy. 1 being the most serious offenses, people suspected of terrorism, convicted felons. And then you have priority 2, with people convicted of 3 or more misdemeanors, or domestic abuses, child molestation, sexual offenses. Those are high priorities. And then priority 3, where any other immigration violators, and then that's usually left with the discretion of ICE agents to see who they think they are a danger to public safety. But even under the Obama era, those discretionary relief must be subjected to supervisory check. ICE agents cannot make that discretion. What has changed since Trump came into power? He came with his own enforcement priorities, about 7 of them. The problem is they are all equally important. There is no one on the top. Like people convicted of crime, people charged with crime, ICE officers actually believe that they committed enough violations that could be constituted a crime, meaning they're actually convicting you before you get convicted. People who have been ordered removed, and then other immigration violators. And then the catch-all, which means give ICE officers discretionary power to say whoever they see as a danger to the public, to put you in removal proceeding without any supervisory check, as it was under the Obama administration. Now, if I were a Gambian and then in US, the first thing I would ask myself, where does this leave me? Now, traditionally, most Gambians entered with a visa, either F1 or B1, overwhelmingly. If I stand to be corrected, but I think that's how we immigrate. So if you're a B1 or B2 visa holder, the visa only gets you...
That's the visitors or the students, right?
No, that's just the visitors.
Just the visitors.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then B1 would be someone for a business visit, and then B2 just holidays and then pleasure.
Okay.
Say you went, and then the visa could be 5 years, as it is in most cases, multiple entry. What most people confuse the visa only give you a right to enter the plane.
Yeah.
That's all. And then that way, transportation, airline carrier liability doesn't attach to airline. Once you arrived in the US, that's where you get inspected and admitted. And then most people, you only get 6 months of authorized stay if you come with these things. Now, if that 6 months is about to elapse, and then you're on B1, where it would actually have a definitive stay period, meaning authorized to stay in the US until January 10, for instance.
Yeah.
So if you are there for a specific purpose, and then that purpose, you know, for some reason, it's still ongoing, what you can do right now, if you hear, you know, all this fuss about immigration, is speak to an attorney. And then there are some things you can do. You can extend the stay, and then it's still discretionary. I'm not saying it would, you know, be granted, but at least if you apply, at least 45 days before expiration, you stay to maintain lawful status until that, you know, application is adjudicated, meaning you never accrue unlawful presence. The problem is it could take about 3 months for them to adjudicate that, sometimes 4 months. If that request get denied, your status go retroactively from the date of, you know, it expires. So meaning you stand to accrue a lot of unlawful presence while you were there. You know, so that could at least have some collateral bar if you leave the country. So that's why it's usually advisable to do it earlier in time. If a decision is made, you know your fate, you could bounce early before you trigger some of those mandatory bars. That's why it's always recommended to do it at least. For me, I advise my clients, do it 2 months. Now, of course, things could happen, emergencies, medical reasons, and then the stronger your case is, the more compelling it is, they would extend it, of course, if it's a last-minute thing. But that's one of the things you could do. Now, if you're an F1 student, and then F1 students, their situation is a little bit tricky. As long as, you know, you are in compliance with the school regulation, meaning you are taking 12 credit per semester, and you are not working off campus, or if you are working in campus, you are only doing the 20 hours as recommended by the, you know, designated school officials, you are in compliance. But if you are a student, you went with a student visa, and then you never attend school, or you drop out of school, and then that's the case for most people because we understand the situation, you may not necessarily accrue unlawful presence, but you're still in the US without status. Meaning, if you run into ICE, they can place you in removal proceeding. Of course, you could always file for reinstatement, but the question is, how long have you been out of status before you file for reinstatement? That would, you know, at least show up the chances of, you know, getting that status reinstated, and then whether there were compelling reasons for not going back to school. And then even if you are doing that reinstatement, you still need to, you know, prove enough financial support to continue that casework. Now, the majority of Gambians that should be alarmed are people who are actually in the US with a final order of removal, meaning they went through the whole process of immigration. For whatever reason, they fall under the radars of ICE, and then they went through removal proceedings. Immigration judges ordered them removed. Either they appeal and then lose their appeal, and then for some reason they never left the country. Let's say it could be one of two scenarios. I'm in the US, and then let's say I even happen to get married, and then it fall apart, and then I never get my status through that. So I end up getting placed in removal proceeding. This is what they call non-detained cases. I'm not in immigration custody, but I'm going to court through my own will. It could take time. At the end of the hearing, the judge put a removal order. And then usually ICE would not arrest you and put you in detention. They just leave you that way.
What should those Gambians avoid? Because we have seen a lot of Gambians being returned right now to the country. Once you know your status is not regularized, or you are on the deportation list, what should you avoid for you not to be, you know, in contact with ICE or with any other? What should you avoid?
Well, the easiest way to, you know, fall under the radar would be maybe traffic violations. If you come in contact with criminal law, and then usually they would do an ICE hold on you. Now, some states are different. You know, everybody have this concept, sanctuary states, where like New York, California, or other places, their local law enforcement officers would not check into people's immigration status, regardless of what criminal laws you did. Now, my own city of Madison, if you live there, higher misdemeanors, domestic violence, anything if you commit any of those crimes, or even DUI, they are considered significant misdemeanors. You get, you know, booked at a county for a criminal offense, know that they would put an ICE hold on you if you do not have, you know, immigration status. So let's say if you are someone with a removal order, they'll just bounce you if they could get the travel means. And then if they can't, they might release you on supervision, but it depends, or put teeter on your like ankle bracelet monitoring, but there are a wide range of measures that ICE can do. Now, there are some people ICE would literally soap at their door. Since Trump came in, I've seen that. I have clients who, they have removal orders 15 years ago, and then they never thought they would ever leave the U.S. And then with the change in administration now, I start knocking on their doors. Or you come as a visitor, B1, B2. In fact, just recently, as 2-3 months, they would literally call you home and then check whether you left or you're still in the country. So they are doing that. And or sometimes they would call you for reporting.
Yeah.
And then they were like, hey, we need you at the office to report. And then usually with those things, if I have a client who never reported for a year or two because there was no need under the prior administration, you have to make sure at least you show substantial compliance under your order of supervision, meaning you engage your embassy to get a travel document. For one reason or the other, you cannot. And then you made substantial effort on your own part to secure your own removal, but for whatever reason, it's beyond your control. And then so ties to the country, maybe family, businesses, or whatnot. That way, if you go to the ICE officers, they don't put you in custody, try to remove you. Because those are some of the things you can protect yourself.
Governments have a role in this, Daddy. Gambia government is a party to the international rules and regulations. Of course, they have to be compliant to some of those things. But does the government also have to accept everybody that the United States authorities deem are Gambians? If they don't have any proof to say these people are Gambians, should we voluntarily or just accept them like that, Daddy? What do you think?
Well, despite of the laws, we have bilateral arrangements.
Yeah.
EU as a whole, sometimes we don't deal with EU as a community. We do bilateral arrangement with countries.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Italy and Spain, for example, they're doing side deals with nations, especially sub-Saharan nations. And you go to the US, basically it's the same. It's a carrot and stick approach because countries like Gambia are in need of aid. So they will tie it to aid. Look, you want this, we'll facilitate it. But in return, we want your citizens who are living here unlawfully for you to make sure that they have means to go home. And the means mostly is not financial, but instruments, documentation. They need, proof of citizenship, which is either a travel document or a passport, so that they can facilitate their removal outside of the U.S. So we need to know what kind of arrangements they're coming into with governments. And recently, I mean, you see Gambians just coming to the airport, and they'll just give them a little bit of cash to find their way to wherever they want to go, and that's the end of it. And I think that's not the way to transition immigrants. I think if governments of the Gambia or any other government want to sign an arrangement, either the government of the Gambia find its own resources to resettle people coming, or ask those countries to give them a fund that's substantial enough to make sure that the resettlement process of these people goes in tandem with what you expect to be dignified. I mean, just because someone is out of status doesn't mean they're criminals. Just because someone is out of status doesn't mean they have to be treated in an undignified manner. Therefore, our government needs to look at the humanitarian aspect of it and the displacement cost to that particular individual, his family, and his dignity.
Sarjo, as a lawyer who's been working with returnees, the role of government in this, because we have also seen that there was a ban imposed on government officials traveling to the U.S., which was tied to this particular case, accepting returnees. I think in as much as government wants to comply with international rules and regulations, we also have a stake to also protect our citizens. As a lawyer, what's your take on this?
I believe the government plays an important role for two reasons. The ban you were talking about, U.S. has laws where, it specifically states that if country refuses to take, her citizens, subjects, or even residents, they can deny them either regular visas, or immigrant visas to each and every one. But sparingly has that, enforcement been put into place. But it only came in recently against Gambia. Before, the only thing I know of was against Guyana in 2001, and then it come with a swift compliance. Now, how can the government, help itself? Just like the U.S., the Gambia is a nation of laws too. Now, for me, my take would be, because even deportations, even though it might be hard to believe, there are actually people who, they get frustrated in mandatory detention and then they actually wanted to go home. And then cases like those, And it's the embassy, in my opinion, I don't know, I stand to be corrected, but I think Gambian embassies in the US, the UKs, or even Western worlds, they should have a legal department or a legal liaison where we can direct inquiries to. Now, if the US government send them a list that, you know, these are potential Gambian, how do the US government know? Either one way or the other, they use a Gambian passport and then enter the US with a visa. Or they entered without, you know, what they call EWI, entry without inspection, no documentation whatsoever. And let's say they file one of those protections, either asylum or CAT or whatnot, and then claim to be Gambians. And then in those cases, I don't think the government has an obligation just to accept any number that just comes to them. They have to vet. Some of them could be criminal, just like the US. So my point would be, in as much as the Gambia government need to recognize the laws of the US, it also need to, you know, be concerned about her security. And then I think the embassy, you know, from personal experience, they have done great job, great stride in helping or sometimes even pushing for verification from the US authorities in terms of Gambian citizenship. For instance, the US 14th Amendment, you are born a US citizen. And then I'm not an expert in Gambian laws, but just by a mere birth in the Gambia doesn't make one a citizen of the Gambia. One of your parents must be a citizen. So, and then people could get passport fraudulently, or they could get document fraudulently. So just because those documents expired and then they have Gambian name on it, our embassies should tell them, look, we would vet these things, and then if we think that it met the muster under the law and then we prove their Gambian citizenship, then we will accept them, because under that, they have an obligation to accept them. It might be unfortunate for us because of remittance, but it is what it is. We have to accept those people. That's where the government comes in. So I don't think the embassies could just handle this by itself. And I read on a paper when this Section 243D ban was exercised. And then Hamdamani at the embassy was correct in saying them, look, it might be a little bit aggressive, telling them that bring our immigration experts and then foot for their bills, and we'll verify our citizens for you. Because the numbers floating out there about 1,800 Gambians are in removal with felon. I'm not saying it's not true, I just don't buy it. You know, and then I travel extensively in the US. Majority of Gambian settlements are in the Atlanta area, and then Seattle, New York, you know, North Carolinas, and then those are where we have clusters of Gambian. Now, from my work, the cases I handle, if you tell me we have 1,800 Gambian who are to be removed, and then bear in mind, if US, just because you are there without papers doesn't mean you get deported. These people are actually people who went through all facets of immigration, and then they have now a final order of removal, meaning it's final. They have been deported. This doesn't comprise of people overstay visa holders, people who entered without authorization. They are saying these are people with a final order of removal. In my opinion, if we have that overwhelming number of people, 1,800 people with a final order of removal, chances are, if I don't know the first person, I'll know the second person, the entire community will be affected. Because we would be like, oh yeah, my cousin is one of them. So those numbers to me raise the question to check the legitimacy of their citizenship. That's my concern.
And that means they definitely should be vetted.
Like what the good lawyer said, it's true. See, the onus lies on the US. They have to prove otherwise. Just telling me that we have 20 Gambians, give me the proof that they are Gambians. The onus is not on us, it's on them. And we need to vet it once they bring their evidence to the table that these are the reasons why we classify these people as Gambians. And that's where our officials should be sent over to verify and vet those documents and those individuals, to a point sometimes do a one-on-one interview to see whether these people can ascertain the veracity of their nationality.
I think that is very important to vet and verify that these are Gambians before accepting them is really, really important. We're going to take our first commercial break, but when we come back, we're also going to talk about a very important topic, the travel ban. And also the DACA. Gambians are affected in both cases. We will have Sarjo to explain to us who is affected in all of these cases and what Gambians should do to make sure that they don't run into the law. We'll take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more discussions.
Universal Properties, the dynamic and most trusted agency in real estate and property management.
We are here to make housing affordable, accessible for every Gambian, despite their financial status.
What makes Universal outstanding in the market is our flexible payment plans.
We set standards in sales and letting of quality properties, mortgage, leasing, rentals, property valuation, construction, and many more.
All our sites are fitted with social amenities such as schools, water, electricity, praying ground, and a good road network. In Sukuta Phase 1 and 2, Jambanjeli, Sanyang, Brikama, Lamin Daranka, and Gunjur coming up soon. Doing business with Universal Properties, it's a very wonderful experience.
Universal Properties, FIB House, Caraba Avenue.
Tanal ma number yung may tanal ma ba.
Kon yow li ma la jox ci xibaar yëpp doy la.
Jëlal ma number rek gëw ma la.
Sëñ bi na nga def. Kii de dama ko jox xibaar gi ma dégg ci yéen.
Waaw la toggee.
Wax naa ko ne alxames bu nekk ak dimanche bu nekk dañ tànn juróomi nomba ci jackpot bi ku gagné juróomi nomba tegal nañ la 100 plus 1000. Maanaam téeméeri junne ak lu teg. Waaw. Waaye juróomi nomba yi dafa war a méngoo. Su fekkee ne amoo juróomi nomba yu méngoo am nga ñeenti nomba yu méngoo yow dinañ la jox bonus foo du noonu la.
Bonus foo.
Waaw des na de. Altine bu jot talaata àllarba ak àjjuma. ñu génne waat beneen jackpot ne ku gi am ñeenti nomba yu lëkkaloo. ñu tegal la $50,000 maanaam juróom fukki junni. Waaw waaye nag gis nga boo amee ñetta yu méngoo. ñu jox la tam bonus 3. waaye nag xàmmee ko gis nga Gambia. géem yi bari nañ de. waaye gis nga bii green la. xàmmee ko waaw xàmmee ko bu baax a baax feneen foo taxaw bu fii di nga perte.
lu ma la wax yëpp dëgg la. waaye xam nga lu ma lay xamal ma wax nga naan waaw dëgg la kay yow mi sa kanam guddi gi xam nga ne góoma la. da ngeen may kompaloo man ngeen di kompaloo nañ dem ci office.
xanaa nërmelu nga.
ma ne nee naa nga lay laa wax.
nee naa la ku ko mën la ku koy jéem duñu benn. ak loto game ak ay bonus sama xéwalam yu bari. fii rek la du feneen.
Gamcell is here again with another super saving data bundles. Oh yes! 1000 megabyte is now just $250 and 1500 megabytes is as little as $300. Means you can save more whenever you buy Gamcell 1000 megabyte or 1500 megabyte mobile data. Isn't that cheap? So come on guys, buy Gamcell mobile data now to save more and enjoy fast and longer browsing time on Gambia's fastest mobile internet. Gamcell, yay baro.
Welcome back. Like I said, we have Sajor Barrow of Madison, a lawyer, a Gambian lawyer based in the United States. Of course, Sajor, we have also seen something that has been very controversial in the U.S. That's the travel ban. Refugees have been affected. Some countries have been affected. Can you tell us who is affected and are Gambians really affected with this travel ban?
To some extent, yes, but it depends. The travel ban, Trump devised it in two forms. There are a list of specific countries, mostly Middle Eastern, 6 of them, Somali, including Iraq, I think Afghan, about 6 of them, that have indefinite bar. The rest, where Gambia would fall, under are refugees, meaning people outside the physical borders of the U.S. through resettlement. And then he put a temporary ban on refugee admission until he, quote unquote, they could properly vet them. And when that ban came into effect, of course, it would affect Gambians. For instance, let's say Gambia here, we have a UNHCR system, but mostly from other countries. I'm not aware of Gambian actually applying through refugee admission in their own country. You can, but I never seen it happen. So let's say Gambians who are in Senegal and then they went through UNHCR and then they get refugee status.
They're waiting to be resettled.
Waiting to be resettled, and then that ban came into effect. It would actually, affect them for that 90 days. Now, what happened, as we all saw, was series of litigation lawsuits, restraining orders against the ban. The lower courts has all upheld the ban, even the circuit level, except recently when Supreme Court actually, intervened. Now, after that intervention, it's a split. It's a win-lose situation. What the court did in that one-page opinion is that while the president, as of course we understand under the laws, has the prerogative to control the influx of immigrants into the country. So the Supreme Court actually sided with Trump to the extent that he has the right to put a moratorium, a stop on people, any person, coming into the country, with the exception of people who have ties in the U.S. How does the U.S. Supreme Court define ties? People with family members, immediate family members, or substantial business ties. You know, could be a college professor, and I don't know, or maybe if you have a huge investment where you stand to come in. Absent that, even a regular visa holder, ICE can return you home, even though that's not part of this thing. They have wide discretion. That's where most people need to understand. And then since this ban, what I have seen, people with regular visas, if you come to the U.S. now, sometimes if you're not careful, they take you into what they call secondary inspection. They would ask you questions as to why are you coming here, especially if you left earlier. And then they would probe into questions like if you usually have, let's say you came there before and then gave birth, and then they could even ask you for receipts. Now, of course, if your child is 10, 15, it's smart to say that you don't expect me to keep a receipt for 10 years. No one ever asked me. Those are the things you should be aware of. But if you deliver there as recently as now, you might want to make sure you get those receipts. But what measures can you do if you're at a point of entry with a visa and then they inspected you and then CBP officer said, I'm not going to admit you. At that point, the most prudent thing I would do if I were to advise any client would be, I would withdraw my admissions for 2 reasons. If you withdraw your admission, you don't have any bar. You just go home. It's like it never happened. You go home. And then if you are fortunate enough, they may not even cancel your visa. I'll be like, fine, you don't want me now, you think it's too early, I'll go chill a little bit and then come back later. If you don't, they have discretion to revoke your visa, and then they will put you in expedited proceeding right away. If they remove you on the expedited proceeding, you have a 5-year bar from coming in. The only exception backdoor to that, you have to claim a fear of removal, either asylum. Hey, I can't go back home. Maybe XYZ would happen to me. At that point, that's where the law would protect you to do what they call a credible fear interview. And then if you pass that, then they would put you in a 240 proceeding to go through full-blown asylum. But the problem is, if you claim a fear, CBP officers would revoke your visa, and then that would automatically classify you as an arriving alien, subjected to mandatory detention, and then they will let you know, we'll put you in immigration detention. Well, sometimes they contract with county jail. It's not actual immigration detention. You go to jail and then wait for that could take 6 months. And then you can ask for parole. I have asked those things sometimes, depending on what part of the country you are in. You could get parole, you come out, fight your case outside. Sometimes they refuse parole. I have people stay in detention 8, 9 months, and then you end up losing. You get a removal order, you go home, now you have a 10-year bar. And then that's what you are facing with.
What about Gambians who have a green card or travel documents and they were out of the country and this ban is effected? Sometimes you come to the entry point and you have questions. They take you to question you. What should you do at that point?
I mean, the court treat people at airport is considered administrative proceeding. Sometimes the law protects you, but the scope of Sergeant Sajor doesn't go far enough, especially with immigrants.
Okay.
And then, if I understand correctly, unless you are actually, NTA, you don't actually have a right to attorney per se, at the airport itself. You can request for one, and then they will honor it. Yeah. But I don't think they have an obligation. Usually they would ask you, do you want your consular officer to be involved? They would, U.S. government would always ask that. Most people decline it. And then they would ask you if you have attorney. They'll give you those courtesies. Now, if you are a green card holder, you leave the country, and then you don't spend more than 6 months, the law says you are not seeking admission.
Okay.
It's like,
that's your country of residence, right?
Yeah, so if you leave less than 6 months, you're coming back, you're not actually asking for an admission. They should let you in. You are not subjected to inspection to see whether you, any inadmissibility bar.
Okay.
Now, that's just the general rule.
Yeah.
But they can ask questions like, oh, during your stay outside, have you committed any crime? Or let's say you committed a crime before you left.
Yeah.
And if you left, once you are outside the physical borders, you trigger another section of the law.
Yeah.
Now you'll be subjected to admission to see whether you'll be admitted.
Okay.
But a green card holder, even an asylee, they won't ask you to go home because now you have certain rights. What they would do, they would parole you in instead of actually letting you come in as an asylee status or a permanent resident. They can confiscate your physical green card and then just parole you in to be in removal proceeding, meaning, hey, we'll prepare an NTA or so-cause order to put you in proceeding to terminate your residency or terminate your asylum.
Okay.
They have to prove that in court because the burden is on them. Sometimes they may not. And if they don't, the law, what it specifically says, your status revert back to what you had before.
Make sure you have your attorneys and make sure you always reach out to attorneys because It's the most important thing to do right now, especially in the US. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll also talk about the DACA, where kids are very much affected. It was a law that was passed by the Obama administration. We have seen that the Trump administration is trying to revoke it. And then what happens to those kids? And we have a lot of Gambian kids affected in that as well. So when we come back, we'll talk about the DACA with Lawyer Sajor and my colleagues out here.
For us, every day is a new opportunity to make sure our first impressions are always our best and to see possibilities on the horizon. To make our facilities and services more accessible and find freedom all around us. With a location proximity to active markets, with a liberal air transportation policy. That daily pursuit is how we turn everyday opportunities for you. For all destination marketing support, customized packages for new existing airlines and operators, and for a highly ranked tourist destination, the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority is here to serve. We regulate air transport, operate and manage BIA technical requirements, merged with commercial considerations. We have experienced and well-trained aviation professionals to cater for your needs. For investment opportunities in building airport hotels, shopping malls, playground for children, do contact us on 4472-831, 4472-893. Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. We go beyond daily.
Sophie meew la bu sell te neex baax na ci halal ak mag yépp am na calcium iron protein ak vitamine yu bari Sophie full cream powder milk la am na 20 gram 200 gram ak 400 gram ku ko ñam dootu ko bàyyi
kay nga wax ma looy naan Sophie milk
Sophie proudly Gambian
meew Sophie.
Welcome back to Kerr Fatou. I think tonight our conversation is really, really important, and we don't just even want to go to the table. We just want to end it here. Sarjo, we also want to talk about this DACA that was introduced by the Obama administration, where kids that are admitted into the U.S. are protected. They have the right to go to school. In fact, some of them have the right to now go work. They have work authorization. But we have seen a change to that since the changes in government. The Trump administration is trying to revoke the DACA.
DACA doesn't actually give status to minors. What it does, it just protects them from removal.
Yeah.
What the administration is doing as the president, his executive power, he's saying that, look, I know these people are here contrary to the law, but in, I believe, 2012, what Obama did was anyone who is a minor, you enter the country before the age of 16, and then you are under the age of 32, at least with a high school education or somewhat of vocational skill equivalent or GED, without any significant misdemeanor, you will be protected. We are not going to, based on his enforcement priority, we'll give them prosecutorial discretion, meaning we're not going to remove you. So that's what it is. And then at least give them, at least as part of that, it give them right to employment authorization and then going to school. Now, even illegal immigrants, it depends on the states, like for instance, Texas, unauthorized people can go to school. They actually have state laws where you can go to school. They have those things. Some states have those things. You have to check. Now, for kids, the questions he asked at the beginning of this show about those kids, what you can do for them. It's unfortunate that most Gambians, we are not litigious, or we don't understand the concept of lawyers until, or we think it's a waste of money. But most immigrants that I dealt with in the past, kids at that age without parents over there, we have what they call, SIJI, Special Immigrant Juvenile Status. Those things are available for kids who are in the U.S. It involves a two-part series. Let's say, kids who are there without their parents, or one of their parents are there. But for one way or the other, removal, let's say joining them back with one of their parents would cause hardship under that specific state law.
Yeah.
You could get what they call a guardianship status for them and then apply for immigration status, and then they would actually be granted a green card, and if they are under 21. So those things are there, and then people could use it. We have a lot of kids in the US where, you know, if adoption is not feasible by the parents, or if the parents are not citizens, SIJI is the best route you could go with. And then even asylum could still protect them under membership in particular, so depending on what the issues are. So they have those options. But let's say they face out of that age, unknowingly, they don't know, and then DACA is the only thing they know right now. They wanted to go to college and then realize that they are not a citizen. DACA stands to protect them from removal. But what Trump did, with Attorney General Sessions saying that DACA would cease, and then in effect they gave 6 months to our Congress to act. So assuming, let's say, they go by what they are saying, and then Congress failed to act. Because in the past, the only reason DACA came into being was Obama couldn't get Congress to get on a bill. Democrats are saying a right to citizenship at some point, and then Republicans are arguing, no, we have to give them some status, and then these people are arguing that would be second-class citizenship. So assuming, let's say, they don't agree to status, DACA would officially rescind. What that does would, over 400,000 people or so would automatically be placed in removal proceeding. Well, it's left to the discretion of the ICE to issue notice to appear, to put them in proceeding, and then, to remove them in front of the judge. Now, they can file defensive applications. Some of these people might have relief under the law, some may not. So if you don't, you might end up getting a removal order and come back. So it depends. Realistically, immigration courts are heavily backlogged. An average non-detained cases would take about 2-3 years, you know, New York, Chicago. So to put the entire DACA people in proceeding, I don't know, we would be operating 24 hours. I doubt it. Some would slip under the crack, and then the only thing you can do to help yourself, stay away from criminal laws.
So how can we resolve this problem? See, Africans immigrated because they went in search of greener pastures. We need good governance. If we have good governance, most of these issues arising for the diaspora won't happen, because they'll be home and they'll be sorting issues here. And that's why our governments, our politicians should do better to make sure that lives and livelihoods of Gambian in country will be better, and that will reduce our chances of living. We don't want to be destitute, but sometimes the way our governments are administered force us to be destitute in countries that we are not welcome in. So we need to change the way we govern our people. Governance, governance, governance is at the heart of our immigration problem in Western Europe and North America. So let's fix our problems at home.
Only a lot of people have been returned recently, being Libyan refugees or from the US, from the UK. But again, society, the role society plays is very important. When these people come home, the way they integrate in society, the way we accept them, the role of the government, what do you think should be the approach to these people that are coming home?
Okay, that's very, very important. Usually there's stigma attached to people who are returned. Even if you come back for holidays and you stay longer than the time the Gambians think you should stay, the rumor goes around is this person has been deported. And then you get to a situation where you get people who would start asking you, when are you going back? And then you say, well, I'm back home. And then they're thinking, oh, are you not going back to America? Are you not going back to England? And then you're like, no, I'm back home. And then it takes a while before you're even accepted that you're actually back home. But then, as Daddy was saying, if there are institutions or if there are opportunities for people who have been returned, right, either you're a deportee or you voluntarily come back, I don't think the stigma would be that much serious, because you'll be engaged into something else. And the minute people see you being engaged into something, and let it be employment, let it be skills you're learning so you can actually develop yourself, even the person who's been returned won't be ashamed of their situation, because the stigma actually starts with themselves and their family, their close family. Because what happens is you get home and they're like, already in the house, you've been stigmatized, and then you feel left out, and then you tend to hide somewhere. So yes, I think what I would tell my youths and parents and even Gambians, or even I would say everybody, is let's welcome these people. Because for somebody to be deported, it's already hard.
Well, I think this has been a very, very interesting discussion. Daddy, finally, before we go, what are your advice to Gambians that are really in the US and other parts of the world? What should they look out for? And make sure all the time, I always say, get an attorney, get a lawyer who you can always call, even in the middle of the night. That's my policy.
Well, first and foremost, ignorance is not an excuse to the law. The law doesn't excuse you for being ignorant because you have a responsibility and duty of care to know laws and statutes so that you know where you stand and how you're protected by law. Therefore, it's incumbent on all Gambians living outside the Gambia to understand the laws of the jurisdictions that they reside in, be it in the US or in Western Europe. Once they do that, the next thing is to find someone who can interpret the law better. Because, see, most of us, we're too good for our own good. We think we're smart. Lawyers just don't go to school to become lawyers just to explain to us. Because, see, law has interpretation, and interpretation has different dimensions. Me, being a layman, can look at the law and simplistically come to a very simplified explanation, but it doesn't have merit on the law. And that's why we need lawyers. Just like you have a fire extinguisher at home, get a lawyer.
You need a lawyer.
Thank you.
Oli.
What I would advise the Gambians, especially the young people, or especially not the young people, anybody who's outside of the Gambia, when you get to a country and you decide or you want to stay in that country for whatever reason, make sure you understand and you know what your status are. Make sure you go and get it. Like, if you need papers, get it. If you want to stay, get the papers. How you get it, you can talk to the lawyers and ask them. How you get it, there's so many ways to get it, but just make sure you get it.
For me, the basic thing is get a lawyer. Talk to somebody. We all need help. Don't think if I talk to a lawyer, I'm exposing myself. If you don't talk to people about your problems, then they will not be solved. So it's important to talk to lawyers. And if you live around the US, of course, we have Barrister Barrow. He's very helpful with Gambians, but of course we are partnering with Jamil Tarawale. If you live in the UK, he's a Gambian who's very helpful, with immigrations, and if you're in the UK, I'm sure it should be good to contact them. Sarjo, your final words before we go.
The only advice I would give Gambians is it starts from your initial paperwork. Now, US, they don't throw papers, your visa applications, and then that's where most people cut themselves in crossfires if they go and then application get denied. First rule of the term, always save those visa applications. Now, granted, I understand we don't have internets at home. People go to cafes, do application, they submit it, you never get a print out. Always keep a copy of your visa application. Because under the laws, visa application and all those forms are completely confidential. Not even FOIA would give you those things. You know, I fought with embassies to get those things. It's very, very difficult to get it. Once you release those things, you don't have a copy, it's over. And then that's where most of the misrepresentations happen. You go for a regular visa interview, the consular deny you because you are a reapplicant again within a few months. Maybe you made a mistake, he saw that misrepresentation, or he doesn't ask you to explain it, and you keep compounding the mistake. He never asks you, like, no, I refuse your visa. You don't know why, because that's where most people go wrong. Consistency is important. With times you forget things, especially information that are not truthful. Now, people would tell you, oh, you need to be married, number of kids to get a visa. You keep inflating and then you keep forgetting. No amount of information would give you a visa. It's highly discretionary, and then of course they shouldn't abuse it. But sometimes they just deny visa. That's what I tell them. The counselor wake up on a couch, you're getting denied. You know, not even they're not afraid of my BACA. You know, it's non-immigrant visa. They have a lot of powers. What can you do to protect yourself? Make sure those informations are accurate. The advice I'll give the visa holders, like even visitors' visas, you cannot come to a counselor. You have to think like them. You come there, I'm going for a visit. Okay, like a cousin. They know, believe me, everyone is cousin in Africa. So that's not going to fly. It has to be a specific purpose. Or if you're a working adult, you wanted to go for a vacation, you have to do your homework, research. F1 student visa, you go there, how many school you applied? One. Of course, they'll just deny you. They won't even bother to ask you the next question. To them, just unrealistic. They have thousands of universities over there. At least, yes, I applied, I don't know, 7 universities. And then I narrow it down to 4. Why? You know, at least because I spoke to Dean X, Y, and Z. He told me about this program. They have to see that you actually research about that university. There is a reason why you go in there. Maybe the class size or the administration. You cannot tell me you apply to a school, you don't even know who the dean is of your department. You need to do your homework. You have to be prepared. It's an actual interview. That's where most people fall short. And then these small things makes a difference. And then just always keep copy. And for deportees, I think it's the mindset. if you never work in the Gambia and they went to US, cultural orientation is not that bad. But people who are working professional here, even though we may not admit it, if they go, they have a cultural shock because starting certain job. The same thing applies to returnees. I think most of them, they find it difficult to, reorient in the community. Now, it's all mindset. Some people, a lot of Mexicans would take voluntary departure.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, hey, I'm going back and then I'll come back. They understand life doesn't end. Gambia, like she said, Kali said, is the stigma from the society and the government. Now, I'm not going to go to the extent and then say the government should allocate fund, because playing devil advocates, every decision you make in life is a calculated risk. You chose to go there willingly, and then if things doesn't work out, think that, okay, it's a fresh beginning. I'm coming back. What the community must do is not frustrate them.
Yeah.
They are not failures. Some people will come back.
Yeah.
There are others here who actually come with the mindset that, okay, I have the opportunity, the luxury to live in the best of both worlds. I did menial jobs and, I sell stores, deliveries, I did all kind of things. So if you have that mindset, you know what, I'm coming back, put my money together, I'll buy gele or whatnot, and then I'll be an entrepreneur. You can change your, surrounding or your mentality without actually putting yourself in stigma. If you understand that concept, just like most Senegalese do, you'll survive here. And then before they know it, you would do better. And then the very people who claim that you are deported would be coming back to you.
Yes.
So it's all about the mindset, and then understand that times have changed.
Thank you so much, Sarjo. I think this is a very, very educative discussion. And I hope so many Gambians out there will learn from this. Like I said, make sure you get a lawyer. It's very important. Only tay fan nga jaar si sanse bi.
Tay mom dama absolute glam.
Wow.
Ñoo ma sabab.
Tay nak yaa ngi dem Hollywood.
Hadi Fay absolute glam moo def ak man tay, so man ko wax jërëjëf. Ku bëgg li ma sol rek mën nga dem absolute glam si Hadi Fay di.
And the makeup?
Suma makeup bi as usual, suma sister Adam Touré, SAS Cosmetology. Ñoo defal suma makeup bi.
Dadi yow tay mom tay dadi mo sol dari da.
It's a bright sunny day in Gambia, and I can't help but just wear clothing that's in line with the seasoning. So I'm just today a simple Zara man.
Of course, if you have a lawyer here, mom gis nga num ñëwé Sadio.
Just right.
And of course, I also want to thank SAS for the beautiful makeup, and Bella's salon for the nice haircut. Until we come your way next week, inshallah, we want to thank our sponsors, Gamsel, Lotto, Universal Properties, Civil Aviation, Gambia Printing, GRA, Sophie and Stuttgart and Co. That is Jamil Trawale's law firm in UK. Like I said, if you're around the UK and Europe, you need a lawyer, you know who to call, Jamil Trawale. Thank you very much, and see you next week, inshallah.